For Sunday, February 8th, you found the Georgia Gang. Topping our agenda this morning, could Georgia become the car capital of the United States? Kasim Reed has big plans in his State of the City address, and Cobb County may want to make a double-decker out of that pedestrian bridge. Some of the stories up for grabs on the Georgia Gang.
From the Fox 5 studios, the Georgia Gang starts now.
And we're glad you could be with us on this Sunday. I have my voice back, it appears.
Hey.
So, Phil, you don't have to be pressed into host duty. Governor Deal kind of dominated the week without really saying a lot, because we learned that he was in London that time when we were talking about the missing governor. He was in London meeting with Jaguar and Range Rover. That's tall cotton. Jeff, you fled Detroit. Now perhaps Detroit and other manufacturers are coming to you.
That's a very great possibility. We could be the motor capital of the world.
Motor City.
The Motor City, because we've got so much going on here. You know, we had the Mercedes-Benz announcement. We've got Porsche out at the airport. And it looks very promising. I think that most of these, though, are not manufacturing operations necessarily, but headquarters and things of that sort.
Well, that's true. And by the way, just to button up that Mercedes announcement, we didn't know when we taped last week where they would go. And this week they said they're going to go on that Glen Ridge Hall estate in Sandy Springs. And they want more of a leafy kind of a campus. They don't want high-rise.
That's right.
They don't have direct access to MARTA Station, though, in that location, which kind of puzzles me, but they're close enough for a shuttle bus, I guess.
Well, and they also are near the Port of Savannah. That was a huge factor.
Yeah.
And often viewers don't fully realize, I think, that Savannah is so important with all of the cargo and, of course, all of everything from cars to toys that come through that port.
Yeah,
Right.
but equally importantly, I think, if not more importantly, is Hartsfield, Jackson.
Yes,
That's
the
true,
airport.
too.
An international airport. They can get in and out. They can get to Germany. They can get wherever they want to get, as well, of course, as Savannah.
When there's one more big plant in the works, perhaps, and that is, this one goes back to when Roy Barnes was governor. Mercedes looking at putting a Sprinter van plant in Pooler, which is near Savannah. Remember, the
That's
Governor
been in
Barnes
play
got
for
that all
many
cleared and
years,
ready to
yes.
go, and then
Right.
Right.
then couldn't pull the trigger on the deal.
It was just before his election.
Yes.
And then it fell apart.
That's right, and that didn't help him. No, that's right. So this week in the General Assembly, everything seemed to be quiet on transportation, Phil. Am I reading that right?
Well, I disagree with you, and a lot of times it's what goes on behind closed doors, as we all know, so it might have been quiet out in the
Quiet
public.
is what
That's
I meant.
exactly
But it
right.
certainly
But-
was not quiet behind closed doors. In
Right.
fact, the House Transportation Committee chairman lashed out last Thursday, which I was surprised at opponents of what is a tax increase at the local level. We discussed that last week, and I thought that was the wrong thing to do, because you've got the School Boards Association, you've got the Georgia Municipal Association, the County Commissioners Association, all saying we have deep concerns about having local tax hikes. We want to try to have input on this legislation, so I thought it was wrong.
and
for
Alexis, the Atlanta City Council even came out against it.
Yes.
Right. There is no interest really in shifting the tax burden or raising the excise taxes or the percentage of the tax on gasoline, and there's just no interest in it.
Well,
I think that there is, in terms of generating some revenue. It's
Well,
just the
they
manner
want
in
the
which they
revenue,
went
but they
about
don't-
it. They've
they
actually seized some local funds so that they can say that we're not raising state taxes, operative word state, because the localities then have to go and recoup those funds that this state essentially
Well,
has
if they want to get the
confiscated.
full
Yeah.
if they want to get the full 6%,
Well, that's right.
they've got to
They're
put
gonna
it to a
have to-
referendum.
Right.
For
That's-
viewers maybe
that's-
who
those
are
six-
not aware of this, it's a proposed 29.2 cent a
Excise
gallon
tax.
excise tax, which it's really a shift. So that's kind of what is being proposed.
But it takes away the local government's share of the current gas tax.
That's correct.
And they'd have to ask for a referendum
and they
to do
have
it.
to go get that money.
And they're
Right.
throwing in for the first time $100 million for transit, which is also very controversial.
You have a poll which shows the public doesn't like this. I'm not sure the public understands it. Tell us those numbers.
Well, Insider Advantage Fox 5 had a poll, came out Friday, and the proposal by the House is in serious trouble. Only 22% favored it. Now, the poll question was just based on media reports. Do you favor this excise tax? And the opposition was 48%, undecided 30%. Most interesting, though, especially with the legislature controlled by Republicans, 60% of Republican voters oppose this idea.
I think only like 20% supported it.
That's right. And with Democrats, only 36% support it. So there's a problem on the Democrat side.
All right, there's a problem all around. Nobody wants more taxes, especially, I think the timing is hurting them too because of the lower gasoline costs have gone down, and people can fill up their car for $30, and so they don't want to see more money on top of that.
The most interesting story I saw was about Butts County, which is down I-75. And apparently a huge proportion of the county's revenues come from the interchange, the sale of gas and diesel on the interchange on I-75.
That's exactly right.
Just, it was a shocking number.
Right.
And it affects the county and 3 of its cities.
Right.
And they're not pleased.
It would really hurt those kinds of rural areas hardest.
So is there a way around it?
Well, you know, the way around it, I think, would be for the legislature to go back with some other plan that doesn't actually sort of shift these funds from, you know, local budgets to state budgets, and to do it in a more direct fashion.
I think, Jeff, they're going to have to regroup on this. In fact, I would point out, did we learn any lessons from the 2012 T-Splosh disaster that went down in flames? I think no one has talked about what are these projects going to be that this $1 billion are supposed to be addressing. I haven't seen. I know there's a list on the DOT website of some priority projects, but I'd like to know, and I think most Georgians would like to know, where's this money going?
Well, I think people understand that, Phil. We have unmet maintenance needs and repair needs. Look at the bridges in the city of Atlanta.
Exactly. You were right. You were right. But that goes to the formula, which you know, after about it makes sense for 5 seconds, but after that, it doesn't make any sense. Where all of the funding is supposed to be equal in all of Georgia's congressional districts. Well, that has got to change. I don't want to be having my taxes hiked to do just highways to nowhere in parts of South Georgia.
All right, now let's talk about other legislation. It's been very slow in the early going under the Gold Dome, but the Senate this week did pass an education bill that was a favorite of Lieutenant Governor Casey Cagle. It allows students who have achieved their sophomore year in high school to start getting credit for college-level courses. Am I explaining that properly? And it's aimed at stemming the dropout rate. I don't quite get that, because it seems to me that if students are capable of taking college-level courses after their sophomore year, why would they be potential dropouts?
Well, you know, it's been a successful model in DeKalb County at the DeKalb Early College Academy, where students can do exactly that, and in their junior year they go to Perimeter College. They have a partnership there,
right? And
the dropout rate is considerably lower there. Students are doing it an awful lot better because they're being challenged at a college level and in an environment where you don't, you know, it's just a more adult, autonomous kind of environment, and they enjoy that, and they're graduating and succeeding. The other thing that I like about this plan is we really need a more direct technical path for students to go into technical fields, to become a plumber, an electrician, and these are high-paying jobs. Everybody doesn't have to go to college and end up, you know, working at Wendy's or you know, that sort of thing. And so I think it's a good way to keep kids in college, but also to get them trained for technical school.
And Jeff's making a good point. In fact, I heard the governor, Nathan Deal, speak on that just the other day to try to boost that. And of course, remember too that the governor is proposing that we have a mechanism to try to get children out of failing schools.
Right. He's going to lay that out this coming week.
That's right. That'll be coming.
Yeah. And one last thing, the Senate is moving on sex trafficking. And one of the interesting parts of that legislation is that adult businesses, strip clubs and the like, would have to pay an assessment into a fund to protect people who are the victims of trafficking.
Right.
And some clever person has named that the poll tax.
That's not so clever.
All right, when we come back, how one little thing can shut down this great city. Stay with us.
Have a question or comment for the Georgia Gang? Visit their website at myfoxatlanta.com.
The biggest story of the week could kind of been funny unless you were caught in it.
Right.
And for those who were caught in it, it wasn't funny at all. A Georgia State University art project with a device taped to a bridge over the downtown connector shut this city down completely. just boom. Well, one of my colleagues was trapped in it for almost 3 hours.
Wow.
We almost didn't get the paper out. So it was not good. They haven't named the art student. She's said to be mortified, but we do know the professor. Now, this raises the question, and then there were these devices all over the place, one in Hapeville.
Right.
And the Falcons were accused this week of piping in crowd noise and music into the stadium on third down.
Yes.
Could this have been a project of the Georgia State Music Department to pipe the music in there, huh?
Well, I tell you, I think the professor is a knucklehead and ought to be held accountable. here.
Come on.
I'm serious. You need to be. Hear me out. You need to alert the authorities when you're having a project that are taping devices to bridges, and he just explained what happened.
Ever
So
suggests
liberals never want accountability. What is this? You don't want to have accountability here?
Well, I don't think that the professor said go tape the project to
He
the
knew
bridge.
what the project. He knew what the project was.
Well, they were supposed to capture images of shadow and light and different things for this art project, which is all well and good, but the professor didn't tell them where to do it.
You could
And
have taped it to a tree in your backyard.
Most of them did it on private property.
In this age,
The
in this
14th
age
Street
of
Bridge was
terrorism,
not a good
That
idea.
was not
in
a
this
good
age
idea.
of terrorism and focus on homeland
Well,
security,
certainly.
the student and the professor ought to have a brain here and think this thing through.
Now, changing the subject a little bit, another year, another week, another fight. Kasim Reed just is the most pugnacious mayor in my memory. This time he's trying to pick a fight, Alexis, with Maria Karstafen,
How about that?
the superintendent of schools in the city of Atlanta.
I don't think that he was picking that fight. I mean, they were having a discussion over there at
called
the
her
school
out.
board. Well, a reporter went to him and said, what do you think about what they're doing over there?
He said
it
she
was
didn't know what she
instigated
was
on her.
talking about. That's pretty harsh.
I heard that part of the quote, and it was an incomplete quote when you say that, and it takes his remarks out of context. Here's a mayor who worked to bring Maria Karstafen to Atlanta, helped raise funds for her transition. I don't think that he's disrespectful of Maria Karstafen. The fact of the matter is the deeds in question that she was saying she'd like to have released from the city of Atlanta are part of negotiations that are ongoing over the Atlanta Beltline. And to say, we'd like to have those deeds now, when in fact that's part of the deal and part of what Errol Davis is negotiating. The timing was off.
You're a media consultant, Jeff, and what you said is very reasonable. You just explained it very well. And the mayor, unfortunately, didn't do it as well as you did.
Yeah, the mayor decided to
Well, I think he was reacting to statements that she made, saying that she wanted him when he thought that she should have known, if she didn't, that the parcels were part of the negotiations, as Jess pointed out. So he was responding to what he thought was
He was responding. I guess my point is I don't think that he was out there initiating.
Well, this is part of a pattern too. He's been lashing out. He's been lashing out at other people over the last 2 months, and we've talked about it on this show. And he needs to calm down and could take some lessons from you and be a little
All right,
more.
so now on a
smooth.
more positive note, the mayor delivered his State of the City address this week, and he had some big vision. The city's largest park, Alexis, where would that be?
it's part of the, what is it,
The Bellwood Quarry.
Bellwood Quarry,
Quarry, which was an old quarry in West Atlanta that is no longer a quarry, and so it is a parcel of land that is bigger than Piedmont Park, and it would, once it could be what do you call it, reclamated or readjusted and put water, it's going to be a water preserve, and it will be a space that will be very attractive.
If you've never seen the Bellwood Quarry, you should go see it.
Well, I want to go
It's
see
massive.
that. I don't think I have.
It's huge, and it's beautiful. It really is.
It really is a beautiful site.
And then he also wants to extend the trolley eastward about 3/4 of a mile to connect with the Beltline.
That's right.
And he didn't mention that there's any money for that or
No,
who's
they
going to
No,
pay
he
for
didn't,
that.
but it's a terrific idea because, of course, the Beltline is the most popular thing that's going on in the city right now and is creating hundreds of millions of dollars in investment along the Beltline. There's an expansion of the Beltline going on the west side, and being able to take that tourist trolley to one of the most popular
But where's
attractions in the
Where's
city
the money
is
coming
going
from?
to be terrific.
Well, there is a need for money, and there is a proposal that the mayor is looking at to
Well, you
have
can
a
dream
referendum.
wonderful dreams all day long, but you have to, set out how you're going to pay for
right.
all of this.
You know what? We've had 2 weeks of decab-free television here. When we come back, we're back in decab. Stay with us.
Have a question or comment for the Georgia Gang? Visit their website at myfoxatlanta.com.
Things just don't always go right in DeKalb County, and I guess that's an understatement. But this week, Lee May, the interim chief executive, wanted to fill the vacancy on the commission. That's his seat. It's very confusing.
Mm-hmm.
So he asked the governor to appoint someone. And the governor said, I don't have the authority to do that. You would have to resign.
Right.
Well, Lee May's not going to resign because that means if Burl Ellis is acquitted,
then
Lee
he's
May would be
out.
out of a job.
Right.
And I don't. So now I gather that what Lee May wants is to have the commission reject 2 of his nominees, and then they're free to pick their own commissioner. Is that the way it is? Does that make sense?
Well, Lee May did select somebody in the, as we know, the
George
commission.
Turner,
George
yeah.
Turner.
The commission's deadlocked over Mr. Turner.
For reasons that are inexplicable.
That's right. I think they should have just gone
agree.
ahead and done it, and especially for all the reasons you're citing. So I think they ought to keep trying again to replace.
I think that they ought to put George Turner in there. I mean, he's a good guy. There's no reason. He's got the experience.
But if he doesn't have the
he has
votes,
the backing of the folks.
I agree with you, but if he doesn't have the
other
votes, let's
citizens
move
there.
on.
In the meantime, the people in District 5 don't have any representation.
And in the meantime, any vote that they take now will be up into question as to whether it is a legal vote, a legally constituted vote, because a segment of the county is left unrepresented.
Well,
and
that's
now
right.
let's go to the specific example of that.
Right.
That's where I was going, Alexis. You're right. It is this barcade, a term I'd never heard before, this idea of taking some failed townhome development, is that right?
That's correct.
And turning it into a giant adult video game type
Casino
an adult,
type
adult
operation.
Dave and Buster's.
An adult Dave and Buster's. I think that's a pretty good
And
way
if
of
you win
describing
prizes, you get to redeem them
And
there.
you get to redeem them there, which is legal under state law. That's
But
correct.
what's
happening here is that this project was approved apparently unanimously with Stan Watson.
the county
abstaining.
attorney says it wasn't a legal vote now.
And the county attorney is now saying that it wasn't a legal vote. And Jeff Rader, who initially voted for the project, and I'm actually working on this project in the interest of full disclosure, but Jeff Rader initially voted for the project, then asked County Attorney Obie Brantley from Fulton County fame, for her opinion, and she said, well, we didn't have a representative there. Stan Watson, the super district commissioner, abstained. And
because
therefore,
like you, he's representing. See, that's what I was
no,
going to say.
no.
One
He
of the
works. He
developers.
works for one of the developers, but not on this project. And he's never worked on this project.
Well, it
said
but
he was a consultant.
But yes, that's exactly right. But
500
not
a
on
month.
this project. But not on this project.
Well,
for out of state work for that developer.
I think the governor would disagree with you on the legality. In fact, he is trying to shut this down and saying we don't need casino-like gambling.
He would have to have new legislation to do so, Phil, because under the law currently it is a legal operation. But here's the question. On the one hand, you've got folks like Rader holding up the appointment of George Turner, which we all think should go forward, and then saying, wait a minute, we can't approve that because we don't have a representative. And so there's it's a little duplicitous, and it strikes me as almost an attempt to keep economic development out of South DeKalb County when it's, we got it everywhere else.
I thought it was so typical DeKalb County, such a typical DeKalb County story, that you find out that Stan Watson, the commissioner from that area, can't vote because he's on the payroll.
Well, actually, he could vote probably under, if he were to operate the way the Georgia legislature operates, because as we all know, they represent interests over there all the time, and then go vote on that project.
Well, and that's always been.
And wasn't there a conflict with the head of the Development Authority, too, over in DeKalb?
Well, he's the guy that's proposing this.
Right.
Yeah, it's wild. And let's switch up to up the road to Cobb County for a second. We learned this week that there is a move to consider double-decking the bridge from Cumberland Mall over to the new Braves Stadium area.
Yeah, and who's gonna pay for
Cumberland
that?
Mall is squawking. They're not liking the idea of all this parking on their mall property, though I think it would bring them business, but they know their market. So you'd have buses, jitneys running above on the bridge, and then the pedestrian bridge underneath.
Right.
And you would just suck up those carbon monoxide fumes from the highway. You know?
Maybe they'll pass out some masks to wear as you
It's
walk.
not exactly like walking a footbridge over the Grand Canyon. I mean,
Yeah.
You know, and I think that we've all said that it looks like Cobb County has been making this up as it goes along with
This is
regard
clearly
to
being made up.
transportation and parking. And let me give you a footnote too for folks to watch, and that is the state Supreme Court has been getting some interesting testimony on the whole
pointed questions.
Braves land deal. And if you listen to the questions from the justices, including Justice David Namias, you know, it doesn't sound good
No,
for
it
the
doesn't.
Braves.
It doesn't. I thought it was going to be kind of rubber stamped, but those were very pointed questions on that Braves deal.
Another attorney apparently just last week filed a challenge to that bond deal.
But this bridge, they're saying it would cost, the last estimate was $9 million. You look at the rendering of the bridge, that's a lot more than $9 million worth of bridge. And if they double deck it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I just,
Yeah.
they are making it up as they go along.
Right, and the transportation, you know, they're saying 15 different ways to get there as opposed to the 1 or 2 in town, but there's only one way to get to the 15. So they're really going to be in trouble.
Well, we'll see. All right, and just a quick footnote here. I want to point out that Johnny Isaacson is trying hard to get the VA to clean up its act, and he's been very visible on that. And then this week we had the tragic death of a Marine who killed her, ex-Marine who killed her 3 children, and it's just a mess. But for one, I'm glad that Johnny Isaacson is here and working on those matters. All right, when we come back, winners and losers.
Time now for this week's winners and losers.
And we'll begin winners and losers with you, Jeffrey.
Well, thank you. I'm going to salute CEO Lee May in DeKalb County for trying to get representation for the citizens of District 5. I hope that the commissioners will go along with him. They do deserve representation. They're paying taxes. And, you know, the State of the City address by the mayor this week was terrific. This city is the top place to come and live and work. Right now, we have more people moving to Atlanta right now than anywhere else, and I think that gives a tremendous catalyst.
I thought we were 8th.
To the we got some new poll that says that we're number 1, and I think it's a terrific catalyst to the efforts of the State Department of Economic Development and the governor as they travel the country, because people want to come to Atlanta.
All right.
And locate businesses here.
All right, how about you, Philip?
I did see that survey, and that is a winner. One of my winners is Congressman Tom Price, right from a Metro Atlanta district. He's the new U.S. House of Representatives budget chairman, and he is proposing excellent budget cuts and fighting, of course, the tax and spend philosophy of the Democrats. I've got another winner, too. Representative Earl Earhart of Cobb County called out Delta Airlines lobbyist, said he was being a bully and threatening. Earhart is trying to remove that fuel tax exemption from Delta. And you know, there was a loser the other day. Remember that airport contract with advertising?
Oh yeah, you've been dogging that for years.
I've been dogging that for years, and so is this station and this newsroom. And the city council just rubber stamped this sweetheart deal with Clear Channel. They've had it for 30 years now, and they tailored it so no one else could get the bid.
And no one else bid. That was the key thing.
They had 3 other prominent national companies do pre-bids, but the way it was tailored, they never could do the bid.
All right, what you got, Alexis?
I'm going to recognize the Rock Hill, South Carolina judge from a couple of weeks ago who eliminated charges against the Friendship 9, who were students 54 years ago, sitting in, and it was a remarkable and moving expression of apology by the state to these civil disobedient civil rights workers. So congratulations to all of them. And you should Google his statement. It was very wonderful. And then this past Friday was Wear Red Day to create awareness for heart disease, which is a significant killer more, and for women particularly, more often than cancer.
Oh, all right. I will make as my loser Congressman John Lewis, who has said
I
that
think
he's
of my
going to
winner.
boycott the speech. He's not calling it a boycott, but he's not going to attend the speech by Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel before a joint session of Congress. I think that alone shows the death of the Democratic Party when you insult the leader of Israel.
How often has the leader of Israel insulted
Just amazing.
the U.S. administration and Congress and everybody else? You got to be kidding.
Ever since Harry Truman, the Democratic Party has claimed to stand for the people of Israel, but in fact, that's no longer the case. It's now the Republican Party that does.
I think they're challenging the Congress trying to be executive.
And then the other loser of the week is Brian Williams of NBC News. Who
yeah.
knows what that guy was thinking? Wow.
He's just a serial liar.
Conflating two helicopters?
Conflate. That's
yeah.
an excellent.
Yeah,
way
I'm
of
going to
saying it.
conflate
Just
you
making
two.
stuff up.
All right. See you next week on the Georgia Gang.
Too bad.
The opinions expressed in this broadcast are those of the panelists appearing on today's program.